Welcome into another bonus question here on Hockey Inside Out. With the Montreal Canadiens off to a much better start than in years past, is there anything that worries about this team as we move along towards the winter months of the schedule?
I think it's fair to say that after 13 games and see the team at 500 is a little bit surprising. It's really nice to see that they've been able to find the ways to win some hockey games and the way that they're playing. Are there any real troubling signs? I don't see a lot of things that stand out with this group. I mean, Martin St. Louis has got these guys showing up each and every night, and they're playing as hard as they can play. They're exciting to watch, and I think that is nothing but good news to see from the organization and each and every guy that's part of the organization. If you want to bring up the power play, that maybe is the one sticking point that says, geez, they're going to have to find a way, 28th in the league to get that thing going so that they can build from a little bit of success, because down the stretch in future is you have to have your special teams clicking, and right now that's probably the only real troubling point that I see within the organization.
Yeah, the four certainties in life seem to be life, death, taxes, and the Canadiens' power play sucking. I mean, it seems to be year after year, different coaches, different players, and they just can't get it together on the power play. It's funny, on the road in Winnipeg, Marty St. Louis, you usually see him running the stairs before morning skates, and he's in fantastic shape. And I said to him, Joe, I said, you look like you could still play. And he sort of chuckled, and he said, maybe on the PP, with a laugh. And maybe St. Louis, if he could go on the ice, that would fix their power play. But as it is, I mean, there's too much talent on this team now for the power play to be as bad as it's been. So to me, that's the number one thing they need to work on. I mean, there's no salary cap on coaching or management. Do they bring in another coach specifically to work on the power play? It's not working. It hasn't been working for a long time, and it's really a head scratcher as to why they can't get it going, especially with the offensive talent they have now. Suzuki and Caulfield and guys like that. This power play should be a lot better than it is, but for whatever reason, they just can't seem to get it going.
It's a lot of the issues with the Montreal Canadiens are hidden this season because of how great the goaltenders have been. And I wouldn't classify anything as like troubling or worrying, because I think we all expect the Canadiens to be a bottom 10 at the least team this year, maybe slightly below that. I think coming into the season, most people expect them to be bottom 5 or bottom 3. So what has happened so far this year is a surprising and fun start to the year, but a lot of the things that have gone on are probably not sustainable. The goaltenders will fall off a little bit, most likely, because Jake Allen can't start 65 games, and Sam Montembeault, as great as he's been this year, and I think he deserves all the credit in the world, is probably not a goaltender who could put up a 940 for a full 30 plus games this season. The Canadiens on the penalty kill, for example, are giving up the 4th most scoring chances, high danger scoring chances of any team in the league. Now, you wouldn't guess that from their penalty kill rate because the goaltenders have been great, but there's lots of stuff like that. At even strength, they give up a lot defensively on the power play. They don't generate a lot of offense. So overall, including special teams, they're the 4th worst team in the league in terms of share of scoring chances and high danger scoring chances. That's going to catch up with them, and they're going to have streaks where they get really, really poor results. Even though they fight to the bitter end under Marty St. Louis, cold streaks will still happen. So I think this team is fun to watch, but continues to not be very good. And that's probably for the best overall for the organization, because if they can land one of Bedard, Fantilli, or Michkov at the end of this season, that changes things quite dramatically, quite quickly.
Yeah, you mentioned the goaltending. I'm really happy to see Sam Montembeault playing the way he has, because he had a severely injured wrist last year that required tendon surgery after the season, and he played through it. I mean, he had to, basically, because Caden Primo showed he wasn't ready for the NHL. Jake Allen was hurt. They didn't want to totally destroy Primo's confidence, so Montembeault sucked it up and he played through the injury. And I spoke to him after his last start when he played really, really well, and I said, what's the difference now with your wrist? And he said, well, every time I used to go to make a blocker save last season, I was worried it was going to hurt, and a lot of times it did. And this season, the wrist is fine. He had the surgery after the offseason. The Canadiens rewarded him for playing through the injury last season by giving him another contract, one-way contract. And now he's not thinking, oh, it's going to hurt when I make a blocker save. He's just out there making saves. And it's nice to see him playing as well as he has so far. Be interesting to see how long he can keep it up. But he's been a real pleasant surprise for this team in the early start of the season.
And Andrew, you spoke of those statistics that you had given us about how they struggle in a number of areas. And I think this just is tied into their youth and a lot of inexperience as a group. And, they're still trying to find their way, even though you're getting some great performances from a lot of their youth. They're still trying to understand how to play the A game each and every night and how you can be a really tough team to play against and not give up too much as far as chances against. And these are areas that can be finely tuned and improved on with time. And I believe with their skill set that those guys are going to be smart enough to realize when to go, when not to go, and where to protect the critical areas in the defensive zone. It's going to allow them to have some success in shoring up some sloppy defensive zone play.
Yeah, I think you're right, Rick.
100%.
I think a lot of it is the inexperience. The biggest difference now with the Canadiens coaching staff and their mentality is they're allowing these kids to make these mistakes and not punishing for them, and are going to work with them, and those things will improve as the season goes on. And it's just nice to see young kids playing without being terrified of making a mistake. And that's part of what's made this team so much fun to watch. I mean, you see young defensemen pinching when they're up by 2 goals. You see them pinching when they're down by 2 goals. You see, Caden Goulet when the 3-on-3 overtime, they look like a power forward taking the puck to the net. So it's fun to see these young kids just go play hockey, play your game, and we'll fix the corrections. We'll fix the mistakes. We'll teach you afterwards, but just go play your game. And the biggest example of that is Cole Caulfield and the remarkable turnaround with him when Marty St. Louis took over as head coach from Dominic Ducharme. They're letting these kids play to their strengths. Every player has weaknesses, especially young players, but play to your strengths, make your mistakes, and we'll work on the weaknesses and we'll correct them as we go along.
Yeah, there was a shift in the 4-on-4 at the end of the game where I believe it was Xhekaj and Savard got out there for a shift together, and they ended up both being the first two, like F1 and F2 on the forecheck, below the goal line. And I just remember looking back going, where are the forwards? Are they back where the defensive are? Like, what's going on here? But having that amount of chaos is kind of fun. And the fact that guys like Savard even are willing to take that chance, it says a lot about Marty St. Louis' coaching style. But
the forwards are backing them up, because I remember there was another, they were down by 2. There was Jordan Harris, and I can't remember who, were both in the goal crease. And I was in the press box going, who's back there? And I looked back, and the 2 wingers were there. So it's obviously part of Marty St. Louis doesn't have systems. He has concepts. And one of his concepts is when the defenseman, when you see a chance, go. But wingers or centermen, you better be ready to back them up. If they're going, you got to be aware of what's going on. You got to get back and cover up.
And they do have the luxury of excellent skaters and mobility that can find their way up the ice and get back all within the same shift. So hats off to that group.
So imagine, Rick, if you had Marty St. Louis as a coach, you would have seen you rushing the puck up there.
Yeah, when you get into those type of situations, I would have found a really nice spot at the end of the bench to get a good view of how everybody else was going to play, because there's no way that I would be on there. And if I was, they didn't have to worry about me getting caught in the offensive zone.
Well, for Rick or any young Montreal Canadiens players, baptism by fire with Martin St. Louis. You learn and grow. You go and grow with this organization. That'll do it for this bonus episode here on Hockey Inside Out. Send us your questions and comments. We'll talk about it on a future episode. And don't forget to like on the YouTube page, Hockey Inside Out, and subscribe to the MontrealGazette.com/newsletters for all the latest content from the Montreal Canadiens. And for full episodes and bonus content, check out Hockey Inside Out. On behalf of Stu, Rick, and Andrew, wish you a great week. We'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.